fire down in our souls.
That's Randall Bramblett from his new album Paradise Breakdown. Randall's been making music since the 1970s, either for himself or backing the likes of Greg Allman, Bonnie Raitt, and Steve Winwood. We tracked Randall down to his studio in Athens, Georgia, to find out how he's feeling about the new record.
I feel good about it. I love the record. It flows very well. I mean, I still listen to records like the old LP days. You know, I want to hear the whole thing.
Yep.
One side, flip it over here, the other side. I want it to all flow. And I feel good about the whole thing. It
Yep.
flows really well. Good songs, good production. I love it. Sometimes I doubt, you know, on some of my albums, I'm like, I wonder if we should have done that song. But
right,
this one fits together really nicely.
And it looks like a very musical environment behind you. There's a sax and a keyboard, and
oh yeah, I'm looking now. This is my studio in the basement, which is where I love to live as much as possible.
And
but,
how much of the record was made there?
Well, all the demos were made here because
Right.
I just do it myself down here. But we did the record and part of it in Nashville and part of it in Athens.
That's right. So then
When it comes to doing drums and stuff, I can't do that down here.
Fair enough. Yeah, you don't want to get to the synthy drums and no, that just doesn't sound right, does it?
No, it's not quite right.
So you started in Nashville, and you work with Jerry Hansen. He's your kind of drummer / producer. How did the two of you work together?
How is what? I'm sorry.
How did the two of you work together? What kind of?
I mean, we've been doing this a long time, so we respect each other's positions immediately, you know.
Right.
Like if he says, I really don't think this, you know, drum part is right here or this guitar part, I'm with him on it usually, almost always. We're just in sync. He wants to serve the song. That's his main goal, which is really beautiful. And that's what I want too. And I don't know, we agree and we challenge each other too. And he always brings new stuff that I didn't think about. And I'm sure I'm bringing stuff he didn't think about too.
Okay. All right. And so going into this record, was there something specific you wanted to say, to feel, to get across?
Not really. What I do is just write from my last record and write as much as I can and then find the songs that I think fit together and express, you know, what I've been going through for the last couple of years. So there's not like a concept to it, but it does seem, it expresses my life and the things I was thinking about.
And of course, none of us are getting any younger, so I assume that has something to do with what you're thinking about.
You hear a lot of songs about accepting aging and moving on, you know.
Oh yeah.
there's several of those. I can't get around it.
Yeah.
So I'm not trying to run from it, that's for sure.
Well, no, you can't. I'm sad to say.
I don't want to dwell on it either. So there's a lot of other stuff there too.
All right. And you play a lot of the instruments. You're not just a keyboard player or not just a sax player. And you're the songwriter as well. So do you have to compartmentalize all these different things, or is it all part of a whole for you?
Well, I don't really try to play guitar on a record. I mean, I can get by enough to write a song on guitar, but I'm not a guitar player really. And so I don't play guitar it's mainly keyboards and vocals and sax for me. I just think of the sax parts. I like hearing a sax section, so we use that a good bit on some songs. I don't particularly necessarily want to use brass. I just love the sound of a sax section or woodwind section. So I don't know. It all fits together to me. It's like when I'm writing the song, I'll hear a section and I'll put down or move the piano and just play along on sax and come up with some sax parts that can be an integral part of the song.
Right.
That's kind of the way it works. Then I record the saxes here and some of the keyboards here, but mostly it's done in the studio. But sometimes we bring the sax parts that I write into the session.
All righty.
And you released a few of the songs already. They're out there. What would you like? One of them is called "Throw My Cane Away," and
Yes.
is that you playing the sax solo on that?
Yeah.
Like I wish I could stay here and talk, but you know I'm just a ghost. You find out it's a sweet old world after you're gone.
The sax solo, I like to try to play different sax solos that don't sound like you've heard before.
Right.
Kind of wacky, out, a little bit out, like some people think they're wrong, but they feel right for the song. I'm still trying to serve the song.
Right.
This song is a true story that a friend of mine told me about. He's from New Orleans, and he had met just by accident, ran into his friend, Mike Rabenak in New York. They just ran into each other, and both of them had been clean and sober for a while, so they had, they had that in common. And Mac did say, after Johnny asked him how he was feeling, he did say, Johnny, I feel so good, I'm gonna throw my cane away. So that stuck in my mind for like 10 years, and finally I wrote the song.
Right.
About a year ago, I guess.
Yeah.
And I love writing this song because it's a true story, except of course the part where Johnny's a ghost, but that seemed like a good little twist too, because he did die. So it's a conversation between Mac and a ghost, really, but it's funky and it's kind of wacky, and I just love it. This is one of my favorite songs.
Oh, nice.
I guess. I mean, one of the favorites that I've ever written. It just feels complete, and it's not a downer. It's a little sad, but it's also happy and funky too. And it just reflects. I don't know. It reflects my love for what music can do and what lyrics can do, to give you that feeling of two old friends running together and feeling good for a while.
So what initially brought music to you, or what connected you with music? Because if I'm not mistaken, originally you were studying to be a religious something or other, and then you switched around.
I just studied religion in college because that was the last thing I could think of, because I had tried other things. And they had good professors, and they were cool, and the school was shutting down, and they were all super protesters.
Right.
So this was right during the Vietnam War protests. So I just ended up, I did like it. I did, but I wasn't going to be a priest or a preacher or anything. I was going to go to seminary, but changed my mind and went. And I had been playing music professionally really since junior high school. So I've been playing a long time professionally, and just weekends mainly. But after college, I decided to move to Athens. I had a friend down here that was playing with me, and he was, we started songwriting and playing our own songs. And then I got a chance to do some demos in Atlanta at a studio, and that got me really interested in recording. And it kind of went off from there. But I had always been playing. I started piano when I was 4, I think.
Right.
And then just picked up sax when I was 12, I guess, and guitar, just playing around, having fun. Never thought I'd be a professional musician or songwriter.
So when did you realize that was a possibility then?
Well, when I moved to Athens and we started getting the chance to record, and then I got a record deal out of the demos that we had cut of my songs.
Right.
I went to New York and got a deal with Polydor and put out 2 records. And by then I was playing with other groups too, like Greg Allman and Cowboy and Sea Level and all this business. So I was into it by then, but it really happened after the demos. And then I got a guy produced me and brought me to New York.
All righty.
I figured I was a musician then,
Done.
songwriter.
Once you get to New York.
Yeah, a boy from country, little town in Georgia goes to New York.
What did it feel like? Was it overwhelming?
Oh, it's so exciting.
Yeah.
No, it wasn't overwhelming. It was just joyful and exciting.
Cool.
We recorded it. My first record, this was 74, I guess.
Right.
Yeah, at Electric Lady, which is Jimi Hendrix's studio.
There you go.
In the Village, I guess it was in the Village. And my producer knew all the players in New York, so he could get them to come play, probably cheap. I don't know what we paid them, but Will Lee and Chris, all these great players, Brecker Brothers, and just a huge list of players that played on my record. I had never been in the presence of people this good before.
Right.
And to see what they could do with a song of mine when I just played it for them, they took it to these levels that it was very impressive, and I felt so excited about it. Of course, then we didn't sell any records.
Well, there you go. But that's a different thing.
A little disappointment later.
Well, yeah, I can imagine. But I mean, there's a difference between commercial success and artistic success. So
yeah, that's true. That's true. That's what I have to remind myself of.
Jiffy and the tax man.
Yeah.
Yeah, but what, it's nice to be able to look back on those records and go, you know what, they turned out all right. So.
Yeah, and we still play some songs from those records.
Right.
They hold up well.
Cool. And you got another new one out, Round and Round the Sun. It's kind of a more upbeat kind of thing. What can you reveal about that, if anything?
Round and round the sun we go, barely hanging on, don't want to see your loved ones slip away. All we know is here we are, tethered to a blazing star, reeling in the light another day.
Well, that one came about, I wrote that because my wife was pointing out to me how sad this record sounded, without any upbeat. I didn't have much upbeat stuff at all. It was all kind of depressing, and I agreed with her. So I wrote this up-tempo, positive song, but it came from a true story I heard from a woman that she told me about being in her car, and it's a long story, but she had a spiritual awakening in her car. And the car lit up, she felt like she was in a rainbow, and
right.
It was amazing. So I thought, well, what if that happened? So the song is about what if you wake up, one day while you're driving along this freeway and your car lights up and you feel this great presence and spiritual life, and what if you're digging a hole to China and you come out on the other side? What happens then? So it's a bunch of questions like that. What if the world is sweeter than you knew? And then the chorus is round and round the sun we go, barely hanging on, don't want to see our loved ones slip away. All we know is here we are, tethered to a blazing star, reeling in the light another day.
Yeah. So with that in mind, from the outside looking in the States, it seems kind of nuts over there these days. How does it feel to you being in the middle of it all?
The States, you mean politically?
Yeah, I guess.
It's crazy and a little scary that it's going to get worse before the election. And just, I can't believe that half the country still is, almost half the voting public is still behind this guy.
Yeah.
I don't get it at all. It's just beyond me to understand. But I'm hoping that Kamala can pull this off. But it's a crazy time right now. It's a divided time, a lot of hostility, a lot of distrust. A lot of people are not trusting, mainstream anything.
Yep.
How do you get your information? Social media, I guess. I don't know. So it's a crazy time.
Yeah.
I feel sad, and I'm excited. I'm glad she's running.
Yep.
She's our candidate.
It does seem to at least a glimmer of hope there.
Yes. A glimmer, yeah. I was all excited at first, and then it just kind of, oh my God, we're still tied
Yeah, I know. It's
with this guy.
pretty strange. Now I see you got an album release show coming up in October, and you got like a big band and a horn section and all that. What's going to happen there?
I hope we're going to have a big party. I think it'll be a packed house at this place that we've played a lot. Foundry is a nice listening room dance place too. So that's the kind of place I like to play, where people can dance, and they have levels of tables and stuff. So you can, if you don't want to get down in the mosh pit, you can, just watch and listen. So I think it's going to be a lot of fun. We get special occasions, I'll hire my horn section, and it's always great to have those guys playing. It just moves everything up a notch. So it's going to be a lot of fun.
All right.
It'll be good.
And you've been doing some shows with Mark Cohn as well?
Yeah, I just got back yesterday from doing a weekend with him. It's mostly weekends, sometimes longer, but yeah, that's been going on for a few years. But his percussionist called me, and his percussionist and I know each other because Joe and I did some sessions, Joe Bonadillo, in New York together. And then I asked Joe to come down and play on one of my New West records, No More Mr. Lucky. He's such a creative and great player. So he called me up and asked if I would be willing to come up and play keyboards with him, because their guy that they'd been using for so long had moved on to Ry Cooder and then Bonnie Raitt. And, so I came up to New York, and we played, I did a rehearsal, and they liked it. So I've been doing that. I like Mark a lot. He's a very cool guy, very sweet guy. And he has written some great songs.
Right. So songwriting seems to be where everything starts from. When did you realize you could write a song? Was there something, did you hear Bob Dylan or something? Or, I mean, what?
Well, yeah, I was kind of trying in high school to write, but it wasn't good.
Right.
But I think at my senior year in college, I was listening to James Taylor.
Oh,
because I was in Chapel Hill. He's from Chapel Hill, and somehow I heard it. He came and played, and I started listening to him, and I started trying to write like him, which was not great either, but it got me started. And I finally wrote a few good songs that I liked, but it really was trying to imitate him, I think. And then when I moved to Athens, I got into it earnestly, seriously, trying to write, because Athens back then was a place you could play these places and play your own songs. You could do anything you wanted to, really. It was just open and free. So I was able to try out songs live with a band and stuff. That got me going.
Is it because it's a college town, do you think, or what was the?
Yeah, I think it was definitely like a little oasis in Georgia for creative people and people that wanted, there was people from the beat years there, and there was people from the early 60s there that were musicians and had been these clubs that did folk music and clubs that did rock and roll. It was, it wasn't to the stage of, B-52s or Widespread Panic or REM. That came later.
Yeah.
But this is like the precursor. I mean, this was the beginning of people doing their own music in Athens, and it was free. People were accepting and welcoming about that.
Yeah. Well, that's encouraging. Now I see you have so the album itself is 8 tracks, which I'm assuming is the vinyl version, and then you've got 3 other ones that are available when the CD comes out. So how did you decide which songs were going to be the 3 kind of outliers there?
Well, I spent a lot of time trying to fit those 3 in.
Yeah,
because I like the songs. They just wouldn't play with the other songs nicely, and finally, my brother-in-law and his wife were down visiting, and we listened to the record together, and they said, no, don't use that one. It brings me down. Don't use that one. So I just moved those 3 off, and then the sequence was right.
Right.
So the songs are good, and people can download them or listen on the CD. We just spaced them a ways back from the last song on the CD, so there's a little time there. So they're not exactly part of this record, but they are too. I wrote these songs in the time period, I think, of the record.
So
and they're good songs, but they do tend to bring you down a little bit when you're listening to the rest of it. They're not quite as good as the rest of the record, I guess.
Okay, well, okay. But so then the last song proper is Somewhere in the Sky. Why is that the final? Why'd you put that there?
Somewhere in the sky, there's a star we named for you. Back when we could fly, and there was nothing we couldn't do. Take it as a sign that is still burning true. Somewhere in the sky. I mean, I know this probably doesn't even apply to people that listen much to music anymore, but people listen to singles and whatever, one song at a time. But for me, I want it to flow right, and that is the best flow of these songs, I guarantee you, because I tried every combination. But it's a hopeful thing too. The last song, it feels like a good way to end the record. It's not a depressing song. It's like Somewhere in the Sky, there's a song we named for you, a star we named for you. I'm sorry. And so it's a beautiful relationship song, I think, about me and my wife, I guess.
Nice. And are you writing all the time? Do you have like a backlog of stuff sitting around waiting to kind of?
I haven't. This is the first time I haven't written anything like immediately.
Right.
I'm just taking a break from writing right now, but I'm sure I will get back to it.
Right.
I was kind of burnt out on trying to write, feeling a sort of a pressure to write. Had a publishing deal where I was supposed to write a certain number of songs, which is good in a way because it made me come down and work a lot.
Right.
I didn't want to get behind. But now I'm just kind of taking it easy. I want to see what this, get the response up from this record, see what people think of it and how far it can go. I know it's not going to go far probably, but just to get a feel for how, let this one end and then I'll start writing again.
Cool. And of course, lots of other people have recorded your songs. Is there, other than yourself, is there someone who does the best job with your tunes?
I think Bonnie Raitt has done a beautiful job she's got 2 of my songs. Really beautiful job. She gets my writing. Not that all my songs are for her, but
right.
Betty LaVette did a record of my songs.
Record.
And she gets them too, totally different, but she gets them. She loves these songs. She does a totally different twist on it. I mean,
yeah.
It's different, but I'm just happy that some people get it and want to do it.
If you enjoyed this episode of the 13th Floor's Music Talk series, please be sure to subscribe to the website or to the YouTube channel. Follow us on Facebook or Instagram and wherever you find your podcasts. There's a whole lot more to discover.